To your left is the restroom. If you haven't already, we have refreshments and mocktails. And I would also like to introduce our artist of tonight, Nija. Her art is right over here in the left corner. I would also like to acknowledge our live stream. Hello to everyone that is watching online. And I also want to make you mindful of the mics. They are on, but they're for our live streaming. And we will promptly be getting started at 7 o'clock. Thank you so much for being here. Right, like, he like once again, I want to thank you all for coming to 50 Shades of Grey, exposing the gray areas behind relationships and friendships. And I will be your host, Nina. And I wanted to have, well, I know Kathy said that I was doing comedy, but you know, like how real life can be funny or whatever. And I wanted to share a little bit of my story. So y'all familiar with the app Tinder, right? Okay. So a few months like I told myself I wanted to be proactive about dating and put myself out there. And like years ago when it first came out, I was like, I would never. But you cannot say that. Cause fast forward to present day, I did join Tinder, okay? So I got on Tinder. I told myself, I was like, Nina, you gonna have a good attitude. You know, you pick your best pictures. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't shy, a little full body, good selfie. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I put my best foot forward is what I'm trying to say. And I don't really get into the bio because I don't never really know what to say in my bio or whatever. I pretty much keep it basic, right? So I'm swiping. So like I feel like they hype you when you first get on. Like you start getting like hella matches, right? So not not saying like they quality, but it's like it kind of boosts your self. Well, I'm gonna speak from my standpoint. Boost my self-esteem, like okay, right? So fast forward, I'm swiping and I match with this guy. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. So immediately I was intrigued because he really started taking the lead. Like he reached out, he didn't waste time. We were talking back and forth. And so like we were talking in the app, you know when you're talking in the app. So then he was like, what's your number? And so I was like, I immediately called Kathy, like, He asked for my number. She like, girl, give it to him. I was like, oh, like, cause I ain't really know, like, is this too much, right? So I give him my number, and then he immediately started texting me. Now I'm going fast in this story for the sake of time, but everything was kind of I would say it was paced, okay? So we were talking in the app, he got my number, and we started texting, right? So we texting for 2 days, and you know the basic stuff, like the surface stuff, but it wasn't like nothing like what's your favorite food and It's like who are you, where are you from, right? So I'm getting the basics. He not from here. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So his name was Peter, right? I was like, okay. And this is a real story, right? So anyway, his name was Peter, and he was outside my race. So I was like, okay, stepping outside my box. All right, here we go. So I was talking to Peter, texting him back and forth and stuff like that. And it was like some barriers, some language barriers. I was talking in slang, and it was a lot of like, what you means and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? Like it was a lot of explaining myself. So 2 days within us exchanging with text, we didn't call, we weren't on FaceTime. 2 days within, one night when I was laying down, I was going to bed, literally before my head hit the pillow, I was like, wait a minute. I don't know nothing about this man that he hasn't told me. Like I ain't do my Googles or nothing, like my investigations or nothing. I was like, something not right. I was like, Nina, you cannot be believing everything this man done told you. Next morning, I immediately got on the computer because he was from North Carolina. Looking up North Carolina, looking up the county he said he was from. So I texted him like, what's your IG? Like, I was like, I don't know nothing about you except what you told me. He was like, you don't trust me? I was like, bro, I just met you. Like, I cannot trust you. I just met you, right? So he gave me his Instagram, right? Went to his Instagram, and it started matching up to what he told me. And I was like, a little sigh of relief, like, because he told me he was Catholic, he was only child, like he had pictures of him and his mama at church. I was like, okay, cool, like, so I was like, cool, right? Yeah, no, for real. So I was like, okay. But I was like, something not right. I texted him, I was like, nah, you gotta call me, like, nah. So that's when it got really interesting, right? So the night I told him to call me, I was at home, I was in the bathroom, and then my phone was in the living room. My niece was like, Auntie Nina, your phone ringing. So I was like, all right, I'm rushing, getting ready. Getting out the bathroom. The phone went to voicemail. So I texted him. I was like, call me back. He was like, I just called you. And he was like, I called you from my local number. So I called him back. And then when I called him back, it was real muffled. Like it was a deep muffled voice. I was like, I was being aggressive. Like I'm not even exaggerating. I was like, hello? He was like, yes, hello. I was like, why you sound like that? Like, cause at this point, like I had, invested my time. Like I had invested my time in it. So I'm like, why you sound like that? He was like, what do you mean? Like, I was just like, oh, this catfish. And I was so salty. I was so salty because at that moment I had realized I was real live catfish, y'all. He had made a fake Instagram. It was a fake, I mean, it was a Google number. And that really traumatized me. Really, like I am traumatized. Like when I'm exchanging numbers with a dude now, it's like I get nervous. Because in my head, I'm like, is this a Google number? Like it just, no, for real. So I said all that to say, I had called Kathy again when it was all said and done. And I mean, it wasn't nothing serious or nothing like that, but I really did feel vulnerable because like when we were on the app, and I'm going to do this for the sake of truth, just for the sake to be transparent. Because when we was on the app, he was like, delete, I want you to delete Tinder. So in my head, I'm like, I'm trying to find the one. Like, it ain't like he asked me to put a car in my name and I said, yeah. He asked me to delete Tinder, I deleted it. Like, okay, like, here we go. So I was salty. I was like, man, I deleted my Tinder. So I ain't even get back on. After I figured out I was catfish, I ain't even get back on. So really, I'm happy. Not that situation led me here, but that's one situation why I'm happy that I'm here to navigate through dating and relationships. And with all that being said, I would love to introduce Kathy Wilfong.
I was not Peter, but she was vulnerable. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to our online viewers. God bless you all. I just want to say welcome to 50 Shades. If you're here, come on up and have a seat. You don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. I want to introduce my friends. These are some of my closest friends. Okay? Actually, all of my closest friends. We're going to introduce our panelists first. Alex Williams. He's my nephew. Let's give him a hand. Shalonda Johnson. Angel Williams. Tequila Spikes. Chelsea Goodlow. Anthony Robinson. Kenny J. Yancey. Quincy Montgomery. Helene Wilson. And Dan the Man Oliver. But thank you all for coming. We are going to dive into some questions, things that we all discuss, maybe some things that we think about but don't necessarily talk about. We've been talking about this subject for months now. And it helped us just when we originally started talking about it. And so we decided to go ahead and open it up to a bigger crowd. And once we did that, we saw how it helped a couple of other people. So we decided to just do an event and see what comes from it. And so thank you all for coming. And we're going to jump right in. Am I forgetting anything? All right. So we're going to talk about dating, friendships, and relationships. All right. I have some questions. And you can just jump in whenever you're ready. What is your general outlook on dating? Like stages of dating, talking versus actually dating. We want to hear from the men first.
Well, I guess when we talk about dating, right? when you first meet somebody. And you're really trying to gauge who they are, learn who they are. Really get to a place where y'all have a certain level of understanding for one another. Um, Dating is when there is something about that person that you want to eventually have for yourself. And so you've made the decision that I'm going to really make an effort to be with this person. That's how I look at that. Like dating and talking, because you can talk to anybody. We sitting here talking now. But, like really deciding like, yeah, I'm gonna date this woman. Like, when I decide I'm gonna date a woman, I'm dating her for a purpose.
What would be one of those purposes?
Jump right into it.
Okay. So, to be married, right? I've been married before, so like if I'm going to date you, like I want to date you for ever, right? And it don't always work out that way, but I'm not going to invest my time if it's not for the right thing.
Side question: what makes you go from talking to dating? What drives that? Anybody can answer.
I mean, when you're interested in someone, when you're interested in knowing them further, not just texting, talking on the phone. You're trying to learn about that person, who they are, what their life looks like on a regular, to investigation. That's what it looks like. But I mean, that's pretty much it. You're trying to get to see, like, is this somebody that I want to continue seeing, or is this somebody that's like cool, like, all right, I'm out.
Okay. So through your experience, what's been the biggest conflict as you switch from talking to somebody to dating? Let's hear from the men again.
Come on, Dan.
Come on, Dan.
Come on, Dan. Let's go.
Oh, the mic.
Put it up.
I'm thinking how I'm gonna come out with this.
Just be yourself.
So I have an issue with. Talking and dating. I don't hold. You have people that say dating exclusive. I don't. If you're dating exclusive, then you're kind of my woman. So well, because you don't have it's about, so, people are title driven, right? So, basically, if I'm talking to you a lot of times, in a relationship, I may be talking to you, and you could talk to somebody, and then let's just say, for instance, from a male's point of view, you decide to be in a physical relationship with that person, right? Before you quote unquote come up with, because I've never in my whole life said to a woman, we're now dating. Like that ain't, I've not me personally. We're dating now. No, it's either you're talking, we're in a relationship now. And a lot of times when you're in a physical relationship with a woman, typically, a lot of times women decide that, you better not be messing with anybody else. So, and from a man's point of view, it's like we haven't had that title, but you've seen a lot of instances where you might have been talking to a woman and been physical with them, then they see you up with somebody else and they end up going crazy. You see them, or you get bad text messages or things like that. So, to me, talking and dating to me is kind of one thing itself. Just me personally. I've never, like I said, I've never been in somebody and be like, oh yeah, we're dating now. So it's typically talking, dating as one, and then, you're going to be in a relationship at that point. Then at that point, that's when you decide that that's somebody you're going, because when you decide to be somebody's woman or a man, the point of that piece of the relationship is to get to, get into a marriage point. Well, I'm dating you. I may be dating Lisa, Pamela, Angela, and Renee. I don't look at dating as I don't look at dating as exclusive. Because that's, it's I've never had anyone say, yeah, we're dating exclusive. That's just never happened. I mean, 42 years.
Go ahead, Q.
Okay, so let me piggyback off Dan. So I feel you, but I think for me, what he's describing is the energy shift, right? Because when you're talking to somebody, the energy is much different than when you're dating. Because like you made the comment of, well, when I'm being physical with somebody, well, that's a whole different level of energy that you give into somebody, right? So for me, like if I'm just talking to you, like we talk on the phone, I might even take you out. But that don't necessarily mean we like dating exclusively. If I'm laying with you, we together. You feel me? Like we together, because now it's a different level of energy. Like we dating, and I feel you when you say like, because women do be tripping like, boy, like they want to give you that.
You said women be tripping?
They be like, boy, like they see you out, like, oh, so that's what you doing?
That's what we do.
So you know, so when the energy change, that's when we date. When the energy change.
Okay, so speaking to the fact of like, okay, you're talking about the energy change and we're talking about dating versus talking. I think part of the confusion is simply it boils down to communication. Like at the end of the day, like my shift comes if I'm telling you, okay, this is where we are and this is what we're doing. A lot of the times I think the communication is left out. So we just kind of are evasive and it's like, okay, no one said anything specifically. You don't have to say anything specifically. Oh, we go together. But at the same time, can we have a conversation? And to Dan's point though, I appreciate that. Like as far as dating, I think you can date multiple people at a time. Like, and then you're speaking about like being intimate and all that other stuff. Like, yeah, that's a whole different level. But as far as dating, I believe you can date multiple people because that's when you're getting to know someone. Like you said, talking, we're just talking in this room. But again, a lot of this stuff comes down to communication, and you don't got a lot to kick it. That is my motto. You do not got a lot to kick it. So if we are 100 with each other and just keep it a buck, I feel like a lot of problems could be avoided.
See, I came into this situation. I was gonna be kind of quiet, but then things come up. So this is the problem, right? This is the problem. Women always say they want you to be open and honest. I want the truth, right? But I know a movie they say you can't handle the truth. I heard that statement of, they can't handle the truth. A lot of times you can come to a woman and say, this is what I want. And when you do that, right, that's why men are very sneaky when it comes to what we would, and I'm just being honest. We real sneaky. We know we may think you look very nice, but you're airhead, right? So, but we may think like, you know, I'm gonna give you some time because you're looking very nice. I may want to be physical with you, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to let you believe something that's not going to happen. And we already have that in our heads before the fact, right? So now what happens, I'm being honest. So now, what happens is the man ends up doing something that he already had planned when the woman didn't even know. But then after the fact, he'd be like, well, you could have just told me that's all you want. No, he couldn't have. He couldn't have told you that, hey, man, I think you look very nice. And I just want to jump your bones. No, you might get smacked. So at the end of the day, like, a lot of women say they want you to tell the truth. They want this open and honest communication. And when you give them the communication, or let's just say, for instance, you got men that lie about I have men that lie about their kids. You know, I just want you to just tell me how many kids you got. Okay, I got 20. Oh, bye. But you know, they'd be like, you know, then you end up dating a guy that said he told you he had 2 kids, and then you find out, well, Dad, you got 4? What? I mean, what? Because you wouldn't have dated him or even got to know him without that. Now you got to know him. Now you kind of got feelings for him. But you're like, Dad, you lied to me about these kids. But, you know, you're really a nice guy. So a lot of times we have to be more open and honest about what's really going on in society. I mean, you got kids or you're older. I mean, things happen. So you have to, a lot of times you have women say, well, I don't want to date a guy with 2 kids. But you got 2 kids. I'm confused.
But I think
it's just all this communication. Communication a lot of times ends up being problematic.
But I think you're coming from a very manipulative standpoint, because if you think about it, it's a respect thing. Give me the opportunity to deny you, even if that's what I do, because it's a respect thing. So if you're open and honest, if I don't want that, Go about your business.
And there's the
But
there's the unrealistic expectation you
that's
have right
not
there.
unrealistic.
To
That's
think
being
that- to
honest.
think
Yes, sir.
ex-
We have a seat open. We got a seat open. We got a seat open. Come on up here. Look, come on. We got a seat open. Have a seat.
It's it's about respect. You're wanting us to lower what we're looking for, our standard to play your game. It's about respect. So if you are telling me I have 10 children, blah, 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 give me the option to say, you know what, I can't handle that. But if you're manipulating me, yeah, I'm going to be mad if I get in that situation and it's not what you presented.
Come on, Kenny.
No, I think also, and I'm going to hit on what you just, something you just said that I actually agree with. But I think it's going to be different, obviously, for each person, and then also different based on your experiences, right? So me being someone who has been divorced and now remarried, when I got with my first wife, although we thought we were extremely close and cool, I can be honest in saying there may have been things that I didn't share and things that she might not have shared. But once we got into it, it was like, we just have to walk this thing out now. And then as time progressed, it was like, okay, no, we don't have to keep walking this thing out. It'd be better if we parted ways. But that shifted my mind, my mentality concerning getting into a relationship. So then when I met my now wife, with no expectation, in all fairness, of actually getting married to her, that we were able to be 100% open and honest. Our very first conversation, she said, tell me something about you you don't think I know or that I can find out on my own. Well, how much time do you have? So we literally sat there for hours, and when I say hours, I mean hours, really just discussing each other. We continued to walk that path in that talking phase, if you will, for a while. A while for us, it was a year, but we walked that thing out, and we really began to like dive deep, dig up some stuff, some childhood stuff. And because we were just friends, I was able to be there for her emotionally and, show that support, and vice versa. Because again, our goal, honestly, was not to get married, not to be in this long-term relationship. So I was telling her the wrong stuff, but it was the right stuff. I'm like, you might not want to know this, but again, because I didn't have this expectation of anything but being her friend, why can't I talk about it, right? Once things so to your question about when does it shift from talking to dating and so on, for me in that scenario, once I realized that this was a female that I can share everything with, everything, right? And when I say everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, then I knew she's not somebody that I want temporarily. I want to have this friend forever. And so that's when we went from the talking phase to me getting on the knee and say, hey, will you marry me? Because I wasn't trying to have a girlfriend all over again. I done had a whole wife. I'm not looking for a girlfriend. Let's not start this thing all the way from the beginning. We know what we want now going into this situation, so let's not play about it. I know you digging me. Why not? So let's move forward with it. And really, that was just a joke for the record. Because she like, boy. But no, so for me, it was like, let's move forward. And if y'all don't believe me, she actually walking in now because she late.
But you made a very good point though, and I want to make sure you understand. I'm not saying I have anything wrong with respect, right? The point that he made that makes that it's easier from a man's standpoint is the friendship part, right? So as a friend, I have friends that I tell everything to, right? But a lot of times we have the tendency to judge, right? So when you're coming at somebody as strictly a relationship piece, right? They always say you should be friends first before you, because your friend is who, I always think to myself, like when you old, right? You sit in the house, you want to be able to have fun with your wife, and that's your friend, right? And so a lot of times we get in relationships and that's all you got. So if there's a problem, right, we shut down, we don't communicate. But if it's your friend as well as your wife or your girlfriend, then at that point, you don't have a problem opening up because you don't feel like she's going to judge you. A lot of times you get judged. I mean, men do it, women do it. We judge when you're open with someone. And a lot of times we do as people, because we feel like, oh, we're dating, we got to have a title. That's why I go back to the title piece. And a lot of times we should be friends, get to know each other, feel like, there's no judging going on. And if it don't work out, we friends. I mean, we still going to be friends at the end of the day. I'm going to support what you got going on. You support, but we couldn't move to the next level. So a very important point that you made was the friendship. A lot of times we don't have the friendship.
So I think that, first of all, what's our new panelist's name?
Chris.
Hi, Chris. Everybody say hi, Chris. So we delved into the proper time in dating to be exclusive, right? Is there a proper time, men versus women? Is there a time frame that you think you need to take? Quincy says no. No. Okay. Is it true that, I want to ask the men, are men more difficult to understand in relationships due to communication tactics, or are women more difficult to understand?
I'm gonna say that women are naturally more expressive. They're natural fillers, and so
What do you mean fillers?
they're emotional.
Oh, feel. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to tell you what they feel.
And so because
Real quick. This ain't gonna be up for no mystery.
Real fast.
yeah, and because they are wired that way, right? They're wired that way, and men, unfortunately, most men are
Not trying to hear it.
raised. Yeah, no, we're raised to not be emotional. We're raised to be tough. We're raised to be, don't you cry, don't you do this, don't you do that. And what it does is it cuts off our ability sometimes to express, right? And so when we get into these relationships with women, and we have to have a heart-to-heart conversation, a lot of times we're so black and white because we only know on and off. And women, y'all lie in that middle part where it's all color. And so a lot of times we get our lines crossed because we're black and white and y'all color. But it's when a man matures enough, when he has enough experience in his life to say, you know what, being black and white ain't getting it for me, And I've failed because I can only see it one or two ways. And when we grow and mature enough to understand that piece, then we get to the part where we want to paint in color. We want to be in a space with a woman where we can be like, you know what, talk to me in a way that not only gonna help me grow, but then I can be able to give it back to you.
So that means there has to be a level of compromise, right?
It ain't even compromise. It's just growth. It's growth.
Yeah, you got to be able to grow. As a man, we like to shut down a lot. You ever you get into a situation where you're talking to a woman and then they talking, you ain't want to hear it, so you just leave or walk out. A lot of times, women, they're very good at communicating. I mean, that's what they're gonna do. You make them mad, they're gonna communicate. You're happy, they're gonna communicate. I mean, you make men mad sometimes. We're not gonna say nothing. We ain't gonna say nothing. We ain't, you don't know where we're coming from. We walk out, you confused. So typically, I mean, the women just are wired that way to communicate.
I think it has a lot to do with relationships too, because we all take baggage from relationships that we were previously in. Women, if y'all been dogged out, y'all gonna be no tolerance. But then y'all look at us men as if we've been dogged out too. So a lot of our hurt come from we've been dogged out. So we got a no tolerance. But then when both, I'll just say both, I ain't gonna say men, but I'm a man, so I'm gonna say man. But when we, like he said, when we mature and come to that point where we want to communicate better, sometimes it's hard because now you taking my gentleness, my softness for granted. You're not respecting me because now I'm trying to communicate with you so you can understand me deeply and better. But no, you say you want a strong man, you want a man to be able to talk to you, but do you really want that? Or because are you gonna take my softness for weakness? So that's something that we have to be aware of, because as men, we listen. We might not take it in at that moment. Well, we may listen, and when we driving, like Danny said, you get mad, you leave, but you driving down the street thinking about it. Like, she was right. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't supposed to let her know today. You know what I'm saying? Not today. You feel me? But women, y'all don't. Y'all. I don't feel like y'all really understand. Like, we really are. I'm assuming everybody in here is probably 35 and up. When you hit that 35 age mark, you're ready to learn. You're ready to build. So, I don't know, but the women been kind of quiet. You feel me? I ain't seen a woman grab the mic up here.
Before the women speak, I just want to hit some points. All the men are making great points. And one thing I want to add to it is, for a man, we need to feel safe, to be open and vulnerable also. Because if we're going to expose ourselves, like Quincy said, we are raised to be tough, to have like a boundary, a wall upon us. If we're going to let you into our castle, we're going to have to feel like we're safe with our information given to you. Because as a man, we have an image, not with just in our home, but in society as a whole. A man has to be a provider, a man has to be strong, man can't show weakness, this, that, and the other. So if I'm with you, I need to know that I can come to you in confidence. Like, we could talk to our homeboys all day, because our real homeboys, they're going to keep what we got tucked to heart. So we got to make sure our woman understands, like, okay, you want to hear what I got to say? Hear me. Don't just sit there and listen. I want you to hear me, because I'm giving you a part of me that is tough to do as a man. You know what I'm saying? Because men, we just don't do it. We're not wired that way. We're not built that way. Even in the Bible, when you say it, I have not heard one story where a man is venting to his woman about anything. You know what I'm saying? It's all about women with an issue and men coming to save. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing women need to understand about men. It's not we don't want to do it. We need to feel safe to be open and available to do that.
So I want to shift just a little bit, because we've talked about these things that get to the point where you are in a deep relationship with somebody. But what are some of the turnoffs for men and women in dating that prevent you from moving any further? I want to hear from the women.
Some turn-off?
Turnoffs.
Why you give me the mic? He called me seasoned. And then some turnoffs. I mean, I got some petty turnoffs. Like smoking cigarettes is one. And smoking marijuana is another. I'm not a smoker. I'm trying to think, like bad, like financial management, like, turn off. You ain't trying to take care of your children. Turn off. I mean, I could go on. I got like a mouth. Yeah. Did I say something wrong? Get past the 20%. Another turnoff for me, because I'm not looking to be nobody's long-term girlfriend or, kicking it partner. So another turnoff for me is you don't believe in marriage, or you just ain't trying to believe in God at all. I'm good. I don't do that. Peace. All right. I might minister to you, but if you talking about going on a date, I'm sorry. I'm just not, I'm not, I don't want to raise somebody else's kid. Like, go back home, start that over with your mama. Just keeping it real. But yeah, I mean, those are a few things that are turnoffs for me. I could keep going, so somebody else chime in.
I would say for me, one of them is like a man who does not know where they are going. Oh. Because for me, like, I have at least, an idea of what I want my future to be like. Mm-hmm. Whether that is family, marriage, breaking some generational curses, how we want to raise the children, or just different things like that. But if a man, because I've came across some men and I'm like, so can we talk about our goals and dreams? And they're like, whoa, I want to start a business. I'm like, okay, what kind of business? They're like, I haven't thought about it yet. So it's just like it's a bunch of wishes, really. But honestly, it comes from like, well, me, I'm not 35 and up, but I learned from a lot of other people's mistakes. So with me being young, you know, I have a great, at least I've been blessed to be around, you know, some people who have made mistakes in relationships and friendships, and seeing that I'm probably here with a lot of people who are 35 and up, you know, I'm around a lot of wisdom. So for me, that's something that is important because that's something that I think about.
Men.
So as far as turnoffs for me, actually, when we were going through our premarital counseling, they asked what would be my deal breaker. Again, be it that I had been married before in different relationships, what I would have considered, excuse me, a deal breaker back then wasn't the case now. And complete transparency, my only deal breaker was that we didn't go to the same church. So if we didn't go to the same church, I felt like then we're not learning on the same level and at the same time spiritually. So for me to try and come in and try and be ahead of anything, that I didn't feel like it was going to necessarily work, because we may have that imbalance there, because you might think differently, or you have a pastor who's fathering you one way, and your expectations of me may not be able to line up a certain way. So I felt like we can handle all this stuff in the natural. I ain't got good credit, so I can't say you got to have good credit. Let's just hopefully be able to get something in our name together. I'm just saying. Then I can't say, when it comes to the idea of being goal-oriented and things like that, I mean, of course, that's what I would want, right? Again, I'm, at that time, approaching 30. We got to be going, we got to be able to go somewhere, and I would hope that we're able to go somewhere kind of together, meaning that we had the same or similar passions in mind, whatever that may be. So again, those things were important, but for me, it wasn't that those were deal breakers, because again, we can fix some of this stuff as we carry this thing out. But going right through the gate, now it's one thing if you just didn't go to church, because then now we get to get real close, because I get to witness to you and hope I can bring you on over, and we'll see where that goes, if it happens, if it didn't. But just to be completely two different places, that wasn't going to work for me.
There it is.
Yeah, for me, one of the deal breakers I think is important is the old cliche, we hear it all the time, communication is key. If you can't communicate, if you can't have a level-headed, mature adult conversation with me, then for me that's definitely a deal breaker. Do we have the same aspirations, same goals in life, same commitments to our God, to my God? Can you excite me in those ways? Can you stimulate me mentally? Can you stimulate me physically? So for me, those are some deal breakers for me that just, it's an automatic. So.
Anybody else?
Another one, she already said. Come on. Chelsea has already hit on this. Another big one to me is lying. Like, so much comes from, lying, like being manipulative and, just so many different things. Like you can say, like when he was saying earlier about like, I ain't telling you this, I ain't telling you that, I ain't telling you I got 10 kids. And then like, that's like, even though you're not lying, you're hiding information, which it is, and it's manipulative. Huh? Yeah, lying by omission. So like Chelsea said, you ain't got to lie to kick it. That's real.
I want to put my 2 cents in.
Go ahead.
Just going off of everything that everybody said, speaking on a woman's perspective, I think when we're going into anything, whether it's a friendship, relationship, from a female's perspective, like you guys are looking for somebody you can trust with your stuff. Women are looking for somebody they can trust to hold them up. That if I put my life in your hands because you're supposed to be a leader, that I can trust that you're going to handle it right. And I think that that's what happens is, even though the omission, and I know that that's not how you think. Dan's my friend, y'all. He crazy. But he's real. But I think that that's what turns people off, especially from a female perspective, is if we are going to trust where you're taking us and you're not telling us where you're taking us, and where you do end up taking us is not where you said you would, then that is scary, because you want us to trust you as you lead, but you lead us in the wrong direction, and you don't give us the opportunity to say, hey, that's where I want to go. And so from a female's perspective, that is what's important, is the trust factor. You want us to respect you, but we want to be able to trust that you won't mishandle our lives. Because usually when we're putting our time into what it is that we're doing, we're looking at you from a long-term perspective. Most of us.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to shift things along and move on to our next segment, unless anybody had anything else that they wanted to say. All right, let's go ahead and switch.
All right, good evening, everyone. Are you guys enjoying tonight's conversation? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about friendship. We've talked a lot about relationships. Let's talk a little bit about friendships. So, do you all believe that men and women can be just friends? Just friends, and never cross any romantic lines?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's a pretty simple question. Yes, they can. I have several. Okay. That's a pretty simple question. I mean, I have several friends that I've grown up with, known, that I could never look at like that. I mean, it would disgust me. So, I mean, a lot of times what happens is you get in a relationship, and then women tend not to believe that you can have just a woman that's a friend. But believe it or not, some of my closest friends are women. Because it's good from a man's point of view to sometimes they kind of check you when you're doing something wrong, like, you tripping, But, in your mind, it's been times I was in a relationship, and my girl said something. I'm like, man, she acting crazy. And then I call my friend, no, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? And so they actually sometimes support. The problem is sometimes as men, we don't introduce that friend, right, to your woman. If that's really your friend, right, it shouldn't be a problem. But as women, they also have to accept that and say, okay, everything's good. I mean, so, yes, men can have, to answer the question, yes, men can have women as friends. I don't see that being a problem at all.
Yeah, I agree with Dan with that also. And it just comes with reassuring your partner or your mate also. I mean, you shouldn't have nothing to hide. I mean, I got female friends from here to forever, and we all cool, but society makes it look like, oh, it's the opposite sex, the guy won't do something or anything like that. And it's not even the case. I mean, you got people you can grow up with that you just cool with, and it's just like a partner. You know what I'm saying? They do give sound advice and vice versa, because women come to guys, want to know the other side and see what's on the other side of the fence, things that they don't know or they can't get from whoever around them. So with that being said, you just reassure your mate or your partner, and then bring them around, introduce them. You know what I'm saying? And heck, they might even be friends once upon a time coming around. So I think that's all what it really is.
You want to say something?
Listen, it's absolutely imperative that there is clear communication when a man and a woman get together, and that man has a lot of female friends, because I am that guy. I have 2 male friends, like, you know what I mean, and then a lot of female friends. And so I think where the lines get blurred is because when a man has attractive female friends, right? The question becomes, how is it that she's your friend and you never have tried to be with her? And it's like, because she's just my friend, right? Mm-hmm. And to Alice's point, like, so many times you just get thrown out there, right? And it's just like, yeah, like, he a whore because he got a lot of, I wanted to say something else, but he a whore because he got a lot of female friends. I know for a fact you have to be engaging with them. It's just what it is, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. But in reality, it's like, if I can have a male friend, why can't I just have a female friend? Like, I don't have to always be trying to stick and move. Right. You know? Like.
So, ladies, let's hear from you all with this one.
I think that people can have friends of the opposite sex when in a relationship. However, like I think Alex just said it, that of course, you know, they have to not just introduce to your significant other. However, they have to then become friends with that person too. And if they're truly your friend, like Kathy is my friend, like Angel or Shalonda is my friend, they don't, I mean, if they're truly your friend, if Dan is truly my friend, I'm not going to be all and hanging all over him, you know. If we're just friends, then, you know, your friend needs to understand when you're around my woman, don't make her feel uncomfortable. Or if it's a man, don't make my man feel uncomfortable. We're friends. You know what I mean? And if they're truly a friend, they already, you shouldn't even have to say that. But that's, I think, where, and then when you don't make a woman feel secure about, you know, you're not going to hold her hand in front of your female friend. That's, you know, of course a woman is going to feel some kind of way, you know, or if you with your husband, if a female is with her man and you saying bye to your husband and you don't want to kiss him in front of your male friend, that's a problem. You know, you got to make that person still feel like they are who they are to you in front of all of these other people.
And I want to actually speak on something that Q said. I think men should understand that women know women very well. And if you have to, just hear me out. Just hear me out. Just hear me out. It's not about, it's hold on. It's not always about us not trusting you. And so when you're in the company of 10, 15 women, at least 9 of them are going to do something or at some point or flirt with you or do something. It's not necessarily you. And y'all act like y'all have amnesia and don't know what's going on when a woman is flirting with you. And so when you have this close friend and she's doing little things that we pick up on immediately, and she's just my friend, but we see what she's doing. And at the end of the day, that's where it's not necessarily we are assuming you're going to do something, but we know women. We don't. It's the women. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. So my only issue, I guess, with that is, at that point, are we calling this person a friend, or is this somebody that I happen to just know or be around? Because to Q's point, you know, he's saying how he has, you know, multiple female friends. I would say that I have quite a few female friends, and then there's a lot of females that I come into contact with because of my line of work, right? The difference there is, so those that I consider my friends, my wife knows it. My wife knows them. They have interacted. Some of them may choose to become, you know, friends, and sometimes it may not be the case, but nevertheless, they know each other. They have a level of respect and trust with one another. Now, if it's people that I've come in contact with, we have been out of town, and I was just telling somebody else this story the other day. A young lady started engaging in conversation with me. First thing I do, you know, it's my wife sitting over there, honey, you need, you know, blah, 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 to at least let her know. It's not to bring you in, we ain't got to fake this scenario, but she knows who you are, she knows where you are, so she knows to respect that. She ended up turning to my wife, like, do you mind if I take a picture with your husband? Like, she knew now, like, okay, so I ain't gonna be able to just say and do whatever. So it was a level of respect that I had to make sure that was established. And then it also goes to a place of just trusting. It's not even just trusting the person, but just trust the scenario, right? Like, just trust my wife knows that even if I don't bring her into the conversation, it's not because I have something to hide. It's just this wasn't that one, right? Like, you okay? We cool.
So but you bring up the next question actually. So we're talking about, can you be friends exclusively without crossing any romantic lines in a marriage? Can you have a best friend or a friend of the opposite sex? And if so, what does that look like? How does that work in a marriage?
All right.
I don't back down from no fight. She calling me out, but she know the truth. I got. I do have a best friend. I have 2 female best friends, and but they know my wife. They all have each other's phone number, and it's hard at times because what was that movie when you're loving basketball, when she called in the middle of the night and he on the phone and the wife kind of peeping, watching them talking. We do have those relationships but it goes back to what they were just saying. Your female friend's gonna check you. Your real female friend's gonna check you about your marriage, and you know what I'm saying. And my best friend, she gonna check me and she gonna check my wife straight up. She ain't gonna be nice about it. She gonna curse us out, but I know it's coming from a genuine place because she wants to see us win. And so if any of my female friends don't want to see us win, we can't be that tight no more. We gonna be cool, but that tightness ain't gonna be there because at the end of the day, as the older I get, I'm gonna just speak for me. I can't speak for nobody else. The older I've come to the point to where I understand where they say it's God, your wife, then your kids. And in that line, it don't say friends. It don't say best friends. Distant friends is God, wife, kids. So I've matured on my own to learn and understand that. And so now I know, I think somebody said about you said making your woman feel secure. I failed at that. And I'm not sitting here trying to lie to them. I failed. I didn't make my wife feel secure around my female friends because when I walk in the building, I walk in with my head up and I'm just not intimidated by anybody, but everybody's not Chris. You see what I'm saying? So I had to learn that and make sure now when we go in places, to make sure Anna's secure. Like even coming in here today, I wasn't going to say nothing because I want to make sure she's comfortable because I get up here like I did and just become part of the program. But it's the simple fact, you can have these friends and even for females, like my wife has male friends, and sometimes I struggle, like, well, you don't talk to him when you start talking to him. But you know what I'm saying? But I have to understand that if I want her to respect my relationships, I have to respect her. So
Men, do you all agree with if your woman has several male friends? Do you feel that
I'm gonna speak on that. You want to?
Yeah, I go real quick. I agree because, like Chris said, it goes both ways. But once you cross over and transition to marriage, that's when firm, strong boundaries need to be set.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand having a best friend, but if she understands me, I'm married. Don't call me in the middle of the night. Don't text me with a problem. Wait till I wake up, and then we can talk to it later. You know what I'm saying? And that goes on both sides because we all got some type of jealousy in us. I mean, but if you secure and open and conversation like that, like this is my best friend, he has a problem. Let's talk to it together. Hey, I got so-and-so over here. He has a problem. From a male's point of view, what do you say I can do to help? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that goes vice versa. It's like you bring everybody become inclusive. But the bottom line is it needs to be boundary set because that's the marriage and it's a covenant. Like Chris said, it's God, your spouse, your kids. Don't say friends. So if anybody comes in and infiltrates that covenant by any means necessary, it could be sexual, it could be communication, it could be whatever the case may be that make whoever feel uncomfortable. You have to set them boundaries and reassurance. Be like, all right, I'm married. Phone's cut off at 9. I'm spending time with my wife or my husband, or we're doing kid stuff. You know what I'm saying? I get back to you when I can. If they're a real best friend, they'll understand that.
I understand Chris' point. I understand Alex's point. Y'all make very good points. But y'all missed one good point. And the point is, when it's the opposite, like for me, I've been engaged. my fiance had male friends. I'm very secure. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like if you're going to do something, you're going to do it. That's just my philosophy. You know what I'm saying? I'm very secure within myself because I don't have no problem replacing you. Now, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I'm just, you know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel. I mean, I'm secure. It ain't the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? I'm not married. We fiance. You know, you keep the ring, we keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? This is that simple. But this is how I look at it from a woman's point of view, is that a lot of times when I was engaged, my fiance, I own several businesses. So in my practices, a lot of times some of my customers are women. The woman needs to be secure, period. So a lot of times women carry baggage from previous situations, their female friends that they have. Girl, you might have had a history. You might have been a dog prior to her. You got with her, you changed your ways. So now, you know, you're trying to be right with her, but her friend's in her ear. She thinking that. So now, you know, you got that against you, but the woman has to be secure. And sometimes it doesn't matter as a man how open, how much communication you give, how much you try to be introduced. I had my bar manager in the truck with me, pulled up to my house to get something from the house. We were going to get liquor from my bar. She thought I was the most disrespectful. You pulled up with her in her car. She looked like your girl. That's my bar manager. You know her. So a lot of times it's the woman feeling secure. And sometimes it doesn't matter what you do as a man, you know, that woman is just not going to ever feel secure because of her past demons that she may have had. I mean, you can't, you know, it's hard to beat it sometimes, you know. I mean, so, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to change everything. I can't talk to a woman from a business standpoint. I can't have a female friend. I'm in jail. You know what I'm saying? I'm in jail. You know what I'm saying? I can't move right. You got to be there. That's crazy. So to me, I just think that sometimes, you know, you have to have a woman that's secure with that. Like I'm secure. I can date any woman, and now you can have whatever male friends you had. I'm not tripping. I mean, yes, you got to introduce, like, you know, we all agreed on, you know, it has to be introduction, has to be a level of respect. But guess what? I'm never going to feel like, oh, yeah, because if she's going to do it, she's going to do it anyway. That's my thought process. Just like a man doesn't own the woman, a woman don't own a man, right? So you can be married, you can be engaged, you can have a girlfriend. I don't own you. You know, you still have the freedom to do whatever it is that you're going to do. So you have to be secure within yourself, like, man, I'm strong. You know, even if she does do something, you can be replaced. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, people get married and divorced like it's girlfriend, boyfriend nowadays. I don't understand it. I've never been married. But at the end of the day, people been getting married, they've gotten remarried, they've gotten remarried, they've gotten remarried. So at the end of the day, I'm not saying it's the thing. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. But it's just when we make choices is a reality. That's all I'm saying.
Go ahead.
So I think one of the things that's kind of getting breezed over here in this security piece is like really dealing with your hurt before you jump back into something. And I think, you know, for a lot of us, and I mean I've been guilty of this. We long so much to have somebody that we fail to take care of us. And so we get in this space where it's like, man, like I just want to have somebody. Like you're looking at everything on the outside and you're neglecting what's going on the inside of you. And so what happens is you get in this cycle of just jumping in and out of love. And every time you do that, you take another negative piece because it didn't work. And you never take the time to stand in the mirror and say, self, what is it that I'm doing wrong? What is it that internally I have not dealt with? Because this is the thing, like you can't get into a relationship with somebody for them to make you whole. Either you're going to find who you are, what you bring to the table, how you bring it, or you're just going to be coming to a table and eating at somebody else's table. And so you have to get to a place within yourself where, one, you're strong enough to look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm falling short. There's nothing wrong with that because we all do it. Two, once you acknowledge that, then you have to be strong enough to really face it and figure out what you need to do to fix it. Right? So then when you actually do enter into a relationship, you can really bring your best self and your whole self to it, and then you can come in with a standard. And I want to stress that. You can come in with a standard for whoever it is that you're talking to, courting, dating, whatever. You have a standard that you can live by. And you say, you know what? I know who I am. I know what I want, and I'm not moving from it. So if you can't come where I am, then damn it, I don't need you.
Okay.
And I mean,
that's it. All right.
Well, all right. Okay, so you actually led me into my last question before we take a shift here. How prevalent are insecurities in relationship, and how does it show up in men versus women? Insecurities.
Whoa.
Why are we going to the men all the time? Because I feel like there's more women in here. We want some insight. I want to hear that.
Okay, ladies, you can answer first.
Repeat the question.
How prevalent are insecurities in relationships, and how does it show up in men versus women?
Very prevalent. Insecurities, I think somebody in here has already said it. It's coming from something that you've seen, you grew up with, you experienced it with maybe your parents or somebody, a couple that you have come up under. You have experienced it in another relationship, and then you start holding all these accounts of someone being dishonest, someone cheating, or whatever the case may be. You're bringing that, and then you're bringing it into your new relationship with somebody else. Insecurities will red flag. You know them red flags I've been putting up. It's super red flag because it's killing. It will kill a relationship like so super fast. Being insecure, I think it's kind of falls on both parties as well, because people can do things to make you feel insecure. And, and you'll be like, am I crazy or is this really happening? People can do things to make you feel insecure. Sometimes it's not just coming from you. Sometimes people actually do things that make you feel insecure. And I think communicating is a big thing, because if something is making you feel insecure, you just need to come out and say it. It's making me feel insecure that you get up and you walk out of the room whenever your phone dings or rings. Like, that makes you feel insecure. It needs to be communicated. And then there was a second part to your question. You said, how does it show up in men versus women?
Do men show it differently than women, or?
The men that I've experienced who were insecure, it has been. It's like you might have somebody who flips out and like goes crazy. I've seen another male who would not just go crazy about the situation and on the people in that situation, but just like completely like shut down on you. And so in order that insecurity or whatever it is that they're feeling that makes them insecure, like they would completely like shut off all feelings, so that whatever it is that comes from you, it won't hurt.
And before I go to you, our online audience, some of the clues or some of the ways insecurities show up, some of their opinions were in violence, in clinginess, and passive-aggressive behavior.
Yes, definitely. Definitely passive-aggressive behavior, because if you have someone who's like, no, you're not going out with your friends that you've known for 15, 20 years, or, wants to know your every whereabout, insecurity comes out in some of the worst of ways.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry I'm talking so much. But, for men, we are naturally territorial. We and I tell this to anybody who will listen, we are natural hunters of women, right? That's our mind. That's how we think, right? So when we get with someone and we commit to them, because to Dan's point, we can date a woman all day and not feel nothing. Mm-hmm. But if we commit and we start thinking of them as ours, right? Mm-hmm. That's me. That's my girl. That's who I'm with. We become naturally territorial. Our insecurities show up through control.
There it is.
It shows up through control, because now we want to dictate how you move, not just where you moving to, but how you do it, right? That's an insecurity. For women, it's totally different, because y'all are feelers. I said that before. Y'all are feelers, right? So when y'all get that thing, that women's intuition start tingling in y'all ear and down the back of y'all neck, y'all whole disposition changes. The way that you interact, the way that you talk, the way that you listen, everything changes, right? And when that changes, because we dumb. Let me keep it real. We dumb. Like, we see it, but we just be like, oh, man, she just having a bad day. Nah, bro, you moving different. You moving different. You done switched her energy, right? And so she's moving differently because she suspects that you're no longer who you said you were. And so that causes the insecurities in her, and then that's when all the stuff from the past comes forward. And as a man, we don't realize that we pulled it forward because it was there all along. Yeah. But we never, saw it because we didn't trigger anything. Yeah. But once we set off the triggers, she be looking at you different. And that's how you see it.
So I'm actually going to pause this segment. We have a lot more to discuss, but we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to turn it back over to Kathy to introduce our next guest.
Again, thank you all for coming. I wanted to take a break and introduce my daughter. She is launching her business. She's an artist. She is very gifted. And sometimes it takes a lot for us to step out into who we are supposed to be. And so I wanted to use this platform to open up a door for her to do that. So without any further delay, Nija, if you would come forward and just talk about some of the things that you're doing. Her art, a few pieces are over here on display in the corner. And also, if you have a raffle ticket, we are raffling off 3 gifts this evening, and one of them is a personalized piece from her. So come on forward.
It's stepdaughter. Hello. Yeah, right. Hello. My name is Nija Withrow, White Wilfong Withrow. I would not have the gift that I have had it not been for my grandfather. So I want to remember him because I will be without. So I'm about to launch my website next week. Artsy Misfit, name came from my husband, and I took a pause for a minute because my grandfather was really the one who would encourage me. I spent the most time with him with anything. So a lot of who I am and where I am today is because of him. He's my first father, before anybody else, first love, before anybody else, best friend. But I do a lot of abstract. I'm working on realism. I am practicing on my portraits, people. That's an area that I would like to like get better at. But give me something that you would like me to draw. Still life, I can do it. Abstract, cubism. Favorite artists that I grew up loving so much was Picasso, Frida Kahlo, Da Vinci. A lot of people probably know about all of them. Very colorful person. Very confident in certain areas of my artistic ability. A lot of people notice that I like to do anatomical figures. Those are portraits of bodies, or pictures of like human anatomy. But yeah, that's something that I like to do. Line drawing, abstract, Africa. Africa all day. Africa all day. But this is a piece that I did actually today. The original one I misplaced. But the original was much smaller than this. But I did do this today. I have this thing where a lot of artists aren't always satisfied with their work. So somebody be like, oh my gosh, like, this looks so amazing. I'm like, does it really? Like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like, let me go ahead and redo it. But I am also, I like different cultures. So, like, if you give me a culture, I can say that I can relate to. I don't really feel like I'm too much of an American. So, but this is something that I actually did years ago that I never completed, but everybody's like, no, this looks complete. But I'm like, well, we'll see. But I plan on recreating this because, of course, I would like to make it a little bit larger to sell. But my website will be going up next week. And then hopefully in the near future, art show, something like that. Been stocking up on my supplies, but I tend to call myself an awkward artist. So like I'm that awkward person in the room. So it's just like, hey, what's up? I'll be quiet 1 minute and I'll be like, whoop, whoop, the next. So, but I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be here. I'm proud of my mother. And I'm glad that Sholanda has been here to support and help out, and my cousin Alex, and then my Aunt Helene, and Dan, and everybody else. I remember you from the bank. Love you guys.
Sit down. We're going to move on to our next segment. Come on. Yes.
Okay, how everybody doing? Everybody got the energy? Everybody good? Let me hear y'all. Everybody? All right. Now, this one's pretty tough. It's real tough. I mean, we got some panelists that have been married, have been divorced, myself included. So society has like a pressure on marriage and what it's supposed to be, an ideal. And I think we tend to lose sight of that once we're into it because we try to emulate what we see on TV from other people. Because we get information. Myself, I have a friend. She's been married for 31 years. Great woman, everything. We talked, and I asked her, I say, what's the secret? And she told me the bad. And I was like, what you mean? She was like, not wanting to be with that person, or the nights where we don't get along, or we don't see eye to eye. That's what make a marriage, and resolving that and making it work. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, at one point in time, we was on the verge of divorce. But the bottom line, the bigger picture was, this is my person. Yeah. You got a person that came from a whole different background, and you came from a whole different background that you need to weave together with God in the middle to make the strand, to make it work. So with that being said, my first question is, what does the road to marriage look like for a dating couple? What do men look for versus women when choosing to marry someone?
I just want her to have her own relationship with God. At the end of the day, this is my second marriage, so that when I prayed, when I figured it out, when I stopped thotting it up, I just wanted her to have her own relationship with God. That was it. Because I felt like if she had that, everything else would fall in place. I didn't want to worry about all that. If she went to her own church, I know you said that earlier about it didn't matter if she went to her own church or where I went. So because I think I started going to church with her. So just the relationship with God was the key figure for me.
And to throw a little wrench, a lot of people don't go to church. So what advice will we give somebody that doesn't believe in God, that's a Muslim, or somebody else that like marriage but has a different viewpoint than Christians does?
I'm going to leave him at the bus stop.
Go ahead, Q.
I think it's about intentionality. When you enter into any relationship, especially when you're talking marriage, because you're going to come up against those rough times, those bad times, you have to be intentional. Love is a choice. To love somebody is a choice. And so you have to always be intentional about your love, even when they piss you off. Because the thing is, man, like when you have it in your mind of this is what I'm going to do in spite of. Just like we go to work, we go to jobs that we don't like. But we go because we know if we don't eat, we don't live, we ain't got no roof over our head. So we're intentional about doing it even when it don't feel good. Love is just like that. You have to be intentional about it. And, when you get upset with them, you have to be able to communicate on a level that says, you know what? Even though we don't see eye to eye, we are still one.
I'm sorry. Say the question one more time. Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just going to add to what you were saying. I'm a firm believer that a lot of people, we live in a microwave society, and a lot of people don't know what it really means to be selfless. So giving of yourself for someone else's needs to be met before your own. And because we haven't mastered that art, I don't think we know how to love properly. I think that love, and my friend reminded me of this, love keeps no record of wrong. Being able to be in a marriage, and I'm not married, never been married, but being able to be in a successful marriage or relationship requires you to love unconditionally. And we don't, as a people, know how to do that. We want what we want out of the relationship. We want our fantasy. We want what we need, and we fail to consider the other person. So I think that once we can kind of master and understand what selflessness looks like, and serving your spouse, serving your partner, I think that would solve a lot of issues that sometimes we face.
I'm going to jump in right. One thing that I wanted to say, because yes, love is definitely important and vital. But as I stated earlier, for my wife and I, it was the friendship for us. And it has been the friendship because there will be days that you might not love that individual the same way that you did, yesterday or, whatever the case may be, because there's going to, some things are going to come up, right? But at the end of the day, for me and for her, she's my friend. And if we really have the true appreciation for what it really means to be a friend, then you're going to respond a little differently. Heck, Scripture says that he said he'll be a friend that sticks closer to a brother than a brother. So that's saying that even a true friendship is held on a higher standard even that you would with your siblings, right? Those people that you would think that you're supposed to be with each other forever. Y'all brother and sister, right? But for me, I even take that friendship on a level higher than that. Everybody can't be my friend. I can be an acquaintance with quite a few, but you're not my friend. And my siblings, I didn't get to pick. I've made the conscious choice to make you my friend. So therefore, I hold you to a certain standard, and you have to hold me to a certain standard, because as friends, I want to see you win and vice versa. And again, yeah, that love is there, but I genuinely, you're my friend, so I don't want to hurt my friend.
just to kind of piggyback off of the selflessness piece of it. For me, I had to learn that the hard way, or it took me time to mature to learn what that meant. To be in, to have my partner, to be in that selfless state, to put them, their needs before mine. I just celebrated my 27th year wedding anniversary last week. Last week just celebrated the 27th. Been with her for 31. College sweetheart. I played college football. I thought I was a man, running and dodging and doing whatever I do. But she taught me to be what that selfless looked like, to step back, look at the needs, look at that other person's needs, wants, desires, and just understand what that looks like. It took me a while to understand that, and she showed me that. So, and that's a continual phase that you have to grow on. The dating scene still goes on between us. I have to still court her. She courts me. My goal and my sole prior goal for her is to protect her and not possess her. I want to protect her heart. I want to protect her, her emotional well-being, her spiritual side. That's the protection part that I feel is most important for me in my relationship with my wife. So the protect, not possess, for me is what I feel is where I'm at with that.
So hearing what everybody's saying collectively, the bottom line is selflessness in a marriage, which leads me to my next question. We all fleshy. So no spirituality required with this one, but how much access should your partner have leading to marriage? For example, cell phone access, bank account access, things that you do on your own singly, but when you come together and you're collectively as one, as the Bible should say, or marriage is example, where's the selflessness at now?
We say she ain't getting it. She ain't getting it. She ain't getting that account number.
Go ahead, give him the mic. Give him the mic.
She's not getting my bank account number. Before and after, we will have a joint account. We will have a joint account after we get married that my money will transfer into, her money can transfer into. I still have my own account. Now, in case something happens to me, I will have in the will. These are all the account numbers, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? You're not getting in my bank account. There's too many horror stories that I've heard, right? I've never been married. You know what I'm saying? I've been engaged. You know what I'm saying? And even in that, my philosophy as a man, right, is that typically the way I move, I pay all the bills in the house. I pay all the bills in the house. She ain't got to pay no bills. I pay all the bills. I just kind of have, I'm a provider type of guy. So you don't need no money for that. So the only money you really gonna need is if you want to go, YSL shopping, Louis shopping. Here, I don't care. Here, I pay all the bills, so when you get your money, you can get your hair done, you can get your nails done. But all that bank account access, no, I can't do it, because guess what? If you leave, you're going to leave what you came in with. Now, if you come in, it's the truth. I'm being honest. You know what I'm saying? I'm being honest. I've seen it too many times. People 401ks get cut in half. I'm just being honest. We're going to be honest. Everybody say, oh, my God, but it's a reality. People been divorced. I know several of my friends have been divorced. My dude, they had a house. He had a home. When she got done, he was asking to stay in my house. So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, the way I look at it as is this. I have to protect what I have because I built it. And so when I feel like when you get married, now I got what I built, she has what she built, now we together, so now we a team, and we gonna capitalize on top of that. So anything we get after that point, I have no problem sharing. But everything that I built, I can't allow, if you decide to leave for whatever reason, for me to be down back at the bottom of the barrel to build back up. It just takes too long to do so. I have no problem. I have no problem sharing money. It's the access point that I have a problem with, because some people aren't as financially responsible as others. So if your wife likes to shop and she says, I don't like to shop, but every time I turn around, you coming in with new bags and stuff coming through Amazon, hitting the door. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the ring and I'm seeing Amazon boxes every other day. Then we have a problem, Houston. And so therefore, you know what I'm saying? Is that some things got to change. You know what I'm saying? So for me, just for me personally, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't have a problem paying all the bills. But at the end of the day, we have a joint account. We come together, say, look, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put this money in this basket, and that's our money. Yeah, this basket, and that's what we move with. And then if you want you want to do something extra, like we go on vacation, I'm paying for it. I mean, so it's kind of different because the way my thought process is when it comes to that. Some people, feel like they want to give access, but then that's when you get arguments coming. Well, what happened to this money? We spent this there. I mean, I've seen it. So we can be unrealistic and say, hey, yeah, in a perfect world, it is. In a perfect world, we should be able to share our money and everybody live happily ever after. That ain't how it go. Most of the time, you look up the top 3 reasons people get divorced. There's a reason finances up there. So, I mean, that's just how I look at it.
So, Dan, I have a few questions for you.
Yes.
So, do you believe in marriage, when you come together in marriage, that you and your spouse are one?
I do. But I ain't ever married. Good point, Q. Good point.
Is that your philosophy?
No, I believe in marriage. So let me stop. I believe in marriage. So I believe in marriage. I do believe in when you get married, you should be as one, right? Mind, body, and soul, right? I ain't never heard nothing about. I ain't never heard nothing about no finances. Have you? Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. That's what I heard. I ain't never heard nothing about no bank account. I heard mind, I heard body, and I heard soul. You know what I'm saying?
If I can jump in real quick on your point, because I mean the point is still valid, because it doesn't make us not one because we don't have all of our money, if you will, into the same account. My wife and I have 2 separate accounts. This queen just went and bought her Lexus the other day. I'm like, hey, you make your money, you go do what you want to do. Who am I? Girl, can I have a ride? When do I get to drive it? But then we do have a joint account where, this is what we're going to pay our bills out of. You know what I'm saying? If we're going to go on a date night, if there's some money in there, you know what I'm saying? Let's hit that one first. But then we have an understanding and a respect for each other. There's days she's going to pay. There's times that I'm going to pay. In the beginning of our relationship, I thank God she was willing to pay, because we would have been at home all the time. But again, it's just that communication piece and just having that understanding. And I think somebody shouted it out earlier. We talked about that in the beginning. When we were in our premarital counseling class, and it was like, this is going to be a tough subject because we about to talk about money. No, it ain't. She know I ain't got none. We done talked about it. She know my credit score. I mean, listen, at that time I weighed more than my credit score. So she knew that going in the door. But we had that conversation. We talked about, when I say we talked about everything, I think that day in that class, because they were just listening stuff like, well, I bet you I ain't talked about this. Only thing it was like where we stood in politics. Who you voting for, girl? She said who she was voting for. Me too. She told you we work out well. We ain't finna go through all of that. Like that is falling out over money and all of that. It don't have to be the leading cause. Just be honest. Know what you're getting yourself into. It goes back to a statement that was made earlier. Give that person the opportunity to make that decision. And look at her. She ain't gone nowhere.
And I think you're getting to the point I was trying to make, not necessarily about the money or combining the accounts, but what if your spouse has a different opinion than you? So a lot of things you've stated have been, this is what I'm going to do. This is how it's going to be. When you're becoming one, where is room for her opinion? Where is room for her?
So he just stated, he made a very good point. We're going to talk about all that before we even get to that point. So we're going to already have an understanding. You know what I mean?
Right.
because like I said, I mean, if it's funny on social media, a lot of times, I've been seeing this a lot lately on social media, like they ask this question on social media about who should pay all the bills in the house. I seen that all the time on social media, like, should be, because a lot of they're like, all these men, you know, got a lot of women on, it's the women posting it. These men want 50-50, you know, 50-50, but they want to be the leader of the house, right? And so I'm laughing like, dang, boy, you know, because I'm different. I'm like, Dad, where these women at? You know, they want to split the bills. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, but you know, the way I've kind of grown up is like my grandfather. I kind of look at my grandfather. My grandfather had a funeral home business, pay for everything. You know, my moms, my uncles, all their tuitions. I mean, they didn't have anything. So I guess my mindset is kind of old school when it comes to that, because I feel like I'd rather work. If I had to work 2-3 jobs, I'd work 2-3 jobs before my woman paid the bills at the house. I mean, that's just kind of how I move, you know. And so that's my thought process when it comes to that. So when it comes to, I'm not saying I'm dictating. You know, I'm not trying to dictate. I'm not going to try to dictate her money. You know, I don't. That's not. You know, if we have something we got to get together, that's cool. If we got to get something together, okay. You know, I'm going to help. You know, but as far as the who's going to have access to accounts, well, I mean, that's what he asked. Accounts. You know what I'm saying? He said accounts. Ain't that what you said? He said that. He said accounts. I'm saying we have a joint account, you know what I'm saying, that we both have access to. And as he stated, she has her account, she went and bought her a Lexus, you know what I'm saying? And I have my account, I still have to keep on saving, you know what I'm saying? So you feel it? That's all I'm saying. So that's kind of how they go. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, I kind of agree with, you get those things that's what we talked about earlier with the friendship. The friendship, you kind of iron all that stuff out. That's when you go through your opening up
That's
stage.
what I was getting to, ironing it out before that point. Got it. Okay.
And just real quick, because when you mentioned, like, so what if y'all have difference of opinions concerning that? In my first marriage, and this is not to slight, it's really to slight the scenario, not the individuals, but, you know, we didn't have everything right. You know, this was new for us, right? So, you know, we had some rough experiences when it came to finances. So naturally, I think in my mind, I would have thought getting into this, like, yeah, we need to make sure that, you know, we see what's going on here, da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, you know, but what if I don't want to tell you, you know, how much I got, and da-da-da-da. And so for us, it was, this is all I'm going to ask of you. Don't let me come home and we ain't got electricity. Don't let, you know, I don't want nothing getting shut off, nothing getting repossessed. If we can make sure that that's fine with you doing it this way, then that's what's going to work for us. Because if it's left up to me, candles, because but because I know where my weaknesses are, right? And I know where her strengths are. So let's do this. You know, let's make it work how it's going to best work for us.
This is in the strengths. Like, I mean, I just funny because, I mean, as me being a business owner, you know, I'm terrible. I don't sit in the office very often. My office is a mess, matter of fact. You go in my office right now, it's a mess. It's a mess. You know what I'm saying? Papers everywhere. You know, only reason I know to pay the due bill because I make sure I put that one in a little slot. You know what I'm saying? So make sure I pay all the due bills for the buildings, you know. But outside of that, you know, I'm terrible. That's a weakness of mine. I say all the time, like, you know, if I get married, guess who's getting that role? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm terrible. You know what I'm saying? But it's a matter of knowing your strengths and weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a big part of that. You know, I'm not a big shopper. You know what I mean? But some women, you know, they shop, but they be in denial. So, you know what I mean? They like to shop, but they say, I don't really like to shop. But then you spend it, you know. So that's kind of like when everybody got to. Everybody got to know their strengths and weaknesses. So that kind of goes to what the account, you know, even in the joint account, right? You have a joint account, but it may be a situation like, let's say I'm weak at paying the bills on time, and she's strong at it. Yeah. Well, then we put all the money in the basket, but she controls the bills, you know. So I know I may be forgetful. So she's going to pay everything, you know. She's going to just pay it out of the joint account. You get what I'm saying? So, like I said, everybody should have their own. I think, personally, I mean, the marriages that I've talked to, friends of mine that have been married, typically is the same scenario that he said. Like, you know, you got an account, we got a joint account, and it works back. I mean, that's what I've seen to be successful to me.
Dan, when you were talking, you made a point that I just kind of wanted to speak on, because you were talking about the fact that you were quote unquote old school and paying all the bills. And I just wanted to kind of just talk about that when you brought up the social media point. And I just didn't like the fact that you said old school. And I'm not coming for you, but I'm just saying this is like culturally how we've been thinking. It's like for a man to take care or pay all the bills, that's quote unquote old school. And, you know, the posting about the 50-50 thing. And it's like, as women, I think when we were talking about insecurities as well, as women, I feel like a lot of times we've been placed in a position where we had to lead and we had to be the head. So therefore, it's like in my mind, it's like, okay, I got to make this happen. I got to make this shake. And I don't know how to really depend on a man. So as we're walking through all of this stuff, I need y'all to be patient enough with us to make sure that while we're learning and navigating this, and Q, I love the point that you brought up, make sure you're working out all your trauma and get yourself together. But even in the midst of that, we're still learning and growing too. So sometimes it's kind of hard if I'm always used to all I saw was mama and grandma and they made it shake. And now all of a sudden this strong man's coming in talking about, boom, we going on vacations, baby, I got the bills. It's like, how do I receive that? And though naturally, spiritually, I want you to lead. Like, honestly, I want to be submissive and take the back row. But at the same time, like, I need to also be patient with you and make sure that we're growing in that. So in this, there's a thing going around with all these red flags, right? So Shalonda just mentioned we're a microwave society, talking about access. How do we get to the road to marriage? A lot of times I feel like a lot of us, we give up too quick. We don't work through the things that could be worked through. Being somebody who's been engaged before, who literally walked out now, years later, when I think about some things, I'm like, bro, like, that was, like you said earlier, that wasn't a red flag. You could have worked through that, bro. And so there's some things that it's just like, we got to be patient. So kudos to you, man. I like that man up thing. Yeah, take care of your woman, bro.
I wanted to add something too. Nina and I have a joke. Well, we had a joke. She has been with me since my kids were like little. And so we would joke around about single mom syndrome. And I've named it that. She helped me name it that. But what it is when you're raising children by yourself as a woman, and a good friend of mine told me I had commitment issues, which I do. I know I do. But the reason is, I raised my kids, no child support. Everything that they had, I was responsible for getting it to them. I had to make sure the bills were paid. I had to make sure they had food. I had to make sure that the rent was paid. I had to make sure that they were clothed. And so when you get into a point, and I'm saying this because sometimes, you're going into a second marriage or you're marrying somebody with children, especially a woman, that you can get to a point where, if something fails, it's going to fall back on you. And so I didn't have faith in letting somebody come in and ruin what I had going, because I knew that if they were to come in and ruin in a relationship, come in and ruin what I had, guess who was going to be affected? My kids. And so I bring that up because they're grown now. Both of them are here. They're grown now, and now my mindset has to shift because I'm used to doing everything alone. I have a friend yesterday, he called me a man. He called me a man, and it was because he had asked, like, has anybody told you horrible at, being in relationships or whatever? Why you not in a relationship? And I was like, well, yeah, somebody's told me that. Dan told me that, y'all. He told me that I needed to, keep my eyes open and be a little more, just open. But it's hard to do because it's almost like shifting your mindset about something else. And so you encounter people and it's like, well, I'll do it myself. And, you have that mentality not to be offensive. You're just used to doing everything alone. And so as you getting into relationships and getting into friendships and things like that is something that there's always an underlying reason why somebody is the way that they are. And I can probably, without asking, if you've been a single mother or even a single father and you've had to do things on your own, ain't no way I'm going to let you lead me astray with lies of omission and tear down something that I'm trying to uphold by myself. So you think about that, and you think about when you're getting into a marriage, all those conversations that you have to have, the communication that you have to have. Those are some of the conversations that need to take place. Why are you the way you are? And so I wanted to say that is a building block for a lot of women.
So hearing all your responses, what I'm hearing is it's triggers. Triggers, not being selfless. And one thing about triggers are they're set to protect yourself. Even if you went through it or you heard word of mouth, you want to protect yourself because it's fear. That's how the human body works, fight or flee. So with that being said, do women tend to look for problems in marriage or do men?
Tend to look for?
Yeah, do women tend to look for problems in a marriage or relationships versus men? And if so, why?
All right, so yeah. Y'all give me all the tough questions, man. So
you wanted the tough questions.
So I don't think I'm gonna say neither one. I'm gonna say that once triggered, listen to me, Dan. Once triggered, a woman will seek out these things. Period. I said that earlier, right? I'm getting there. Men are the same way, but men, we deal with it a little differently because, again, we are black and white. We have an on and an off switch. That's just what it is, right? And so once we feel a certain kind of way, we're easily shut off or shut down, And so do we look? Yeah. We find it, and then they be like, oh, well. Women lose it. They lose it. Like, they have to ask the questions. They have to know why, how come, what for. And so, yeah, that's how I look at it.
Hold on, I want Chelsea to lose her thought real quick because she gave the face.
Thank you, Alex. I just don't think it's fair that you just say that women lose it and you're just gonna categorize women in that, because I feel like I've been in situations where men lose it when it's like some of the littlest things and you're like, what are you even talking about? So I won't even put necessarily like a gender on it per se. I think it depends on I think you had said it earlier when you were talking about maturity. I think it just depends on the level of maturity as to where you're at. So to answer your question though, as far as looking for certain things, I think if we're talking on the hip hop Atlanta, like Real Housewives type stuff, sometimes females can be a little bit more, let me go look for something. And I've always been taught, don't go looking for something unless you want to find it. You'll find it. And I'm not saying that gives anyone a right to be out here cheating and doing whatever. But then there's also it comes back to that communication. Ask the questions. If they answer the question, do you trust the person or not? So sometimes I think we put ourselves through more agony and frustration because we are just searching and trying to make something out of nothing. And to go along with that, I think sometimes too, it depends again where you are in your life. If everything is going perfect and you have all this trauma and you're not used to being in a good relationship and you're just like, it can be men or women, you'll self-sabotage and you'll end up doing stuff and you're looking for something that's not even there because you're like, this is too good to be true. But I just want to just declare and let y'all know that no, it is too good to be true because you're chosen, you're God's kids. He wants you to have the best. Right. So when you get good things, don't be fearful that you're getting good things. Right. Like he's giving you what you prayed for, bro. Like, duh.
Duh.
Before you go real quick,
okay.
Dan, the question is, do I'm gonna let him think about it. You got to think about it. So, do women tend to look for problems in a marriage / relationship versus men? And if so, then why? I'll let you think about it because Gigi want to go. And
I'm
Kenny.
Let him go, then come back to me.
Okay.
I just want to tag on to what she said because I think we both as in men and women tend to search. The reactions just might be different. Me, I don't want us to do a whole lot of back and forth. There was a time, where we had our first real, heated conversation. I mean, she cussed at me, and I was confused because that's not how she talks. But I knew it was serious at that point. But for me, it wasn't to dismiss how she felt or anything like that. But before we go into this long back and forth, what is our end goal? Is our goal to have this conversation so that we can move forward? This is me just as calm saying this, though. What is the end goal? If it's just so that we can get a better understanding and how do we want to handle it going forward, then let's have that conversation. If it's so that you can get mad, call me all kind of names and vice versa, and then we go different ways, let's save that middle part and just go our separate ways. So I think it's the reaction to it that may be a little off for different people. Because, again, I'm not going to act like I ain't never looked just as much as she has looked, but my reaction is going to be different just because that's who I am.
Men look for stuff just like women do. Okay. And just by experience, it's something that I experienced recently. I posted on social media, and it was little Kermit the Frog meme, and Kermit was laying in the bed, and he had his Bible next to him, and it said on there, something about being single. And this is what the single life look like. You sleep, you by yourself in your bed, and the Bible is next to you. And dude flipped like you posting about being single. Yeah, I'm single. You haven't put a ring on it. You know what I mean? So dude, I am single. I am laying in my bed next to my Bible. What is there to be, but and I'm saying it because, he was looking for something. He was, pretty much it was like to him, like I was advertising that I'm single. I don't have to advertise. You didn't put anything on it. So I am a walking advertisement that I'm single. So what's wrong with the meme? So dudes look for stuff too. They don't want to say they don't. Oh, it was established. Oh, it was established. It was established.
And so that meme kind of means something, because if y'all establish y'all dating.
But it was established. That was his own insecurity. So, it comes out. It comes out. You just have to recognize
I'm just
it.
saying, the question earlier, one of the ladies asked, when do you establish if you dating or if you talking? What phase are y'all in?
Oh, no, we ain't in no phase now.
Now, because you put the meme up. You didn't cut him off.
Hey,
you didn't told the world. You didn't told the world I'm single.
Yeah. She's 60% cut people off. She went down 85%.
You said, hey, Danny, this is what she said.
I said, what's about an 80-20 rule? She went to 40-60. You didn't hear? He's going to get cut off as soon as he said anything.
You just basically said 40, it's just me and Jesus 60. Now. That's how he took it. It's 46. Just me and Jesus.
Pretty much. I mean, I didn't post it for that reason. Sometimes you just post something because you think it's cute or because you think it's funny, not because it's like you are trying to send a message out there about something, in which people really get that twisted about social media. I'm going to share something and somebody's on the meme and they're drinking. That doesn't mean that I'm alcoholic. I just shared it because I thought it was funny. And that's what that was.
So basically, it's the old saying, a hit dog will holler.
Chris,
a hit dog will holler. His feelings was hurt.
Chris, you gotta understand. Chris, you have to understand. You didn't hear you heard the segment about that, but you didn't hear the segment when she said the turnoffs. You didn't hear the turnoff segment. When she went down to turnoffs, that was an automatic turnoff. When he questioned her about that meme, he was cut off.
Hey. Can I say something real quick? There was a question, and I hate to go backwards, but it wasn't answered one of your questions. And you also had asked something about sharing accounts and everything, but you said something about sharing passwords. You said something about sharing like your phone, your passwords on your phone and stuff. No, y'all ain't we talking about this. No, I'm just kidding. I kind of I'm not saying that I think there's a certain level. What are you talking about? You're not kidding. No, I'm not. There's a certain level of privacy that people should have, just period. I could be taking like a whole bunch of pictures of my phone. I could be taking pictures like no picture you don't want nobody to see. Like I'm trying to get down.
But that's
Let me
your
see how
boo-though.
many inches. But if that's still.
But that's your boo though.
But I don't have an issue like right now. Like everybody who knows me can pick up my phone and they know my code. See, true. So it's not like I have anything to hide. I don't have an issue with it, but I don't know. I don't feel like you should just go pick up my phone and then you just like listening to scrolling. Did the phone ring?
So, I mean, just because you went back, real quick, just because you went back there, I mean, there's a difference of saying that this individual knows this information and that this individual will actually use the power that was given to them, to go through your phone. My wife and we've exchanged, now I act like I don't remember hers, but we have exchanged passwords to our phone many of times. No, the part I was going to say. No. The part I was going to say simply was, I mean, now there's been times she has gone through my phone and she's going to come back with a question like, so what did this mean? I'm like, so you went through my phone. Here we go. So let's talk about it. Versus me, if I've looked in her phone, I'm not, for me, it's not like, I don't really care. Like,
Yeah, and I get it.
We too cool for that.
Yeah,
like,
when
girl,
you together
what you
with
see,
somebody.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, when you
let's
together
get over
with
it.
somebody,
it ain't that serious.
Y'all cool and y'all all lovey-dovey, like
But if she was one that I
need.
needed to go through her phone, I ain't gotta have your password because we ain't gonna be together. I'm not finna do all this extra work.
There it is.
You be free.
There it is.
I'll get somebody else that
Okay.
can get a Lexus. I know some other people with good credit.
I'm gonna say this. I do agree that men and women both have their issues. However, there's a proactive and there's a reactive. Women are proactive. They gonna Google you. I ain't never
Investigation.
and we've been talking about, man, I Googled her. We ain't never Googled. They Google you before they talk to you.
Investigation.
That's proactive.
Yes.
Most of the time, men, I've even done it. I'll raise my hand. We're reactive. The memes. See what I'm saying? We looking at something on Facebook. We reactive. You at the counter. You came home at 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh yeah, you might have been. Let me look at her phone. It's all reactive. Women are proactive. Y'all proactive because I say that because most of the time it's before we even get to that point. You done got my name. Okay, I'm looking. Then before you did that, you asked Lisa, Pamela, and Angela, what you know about? You know such and such and such? Oh yeah. Oh girl, that it's all proactive.
There's nothing wrong with investigation.
Everybody want to be a private eye. You watch too much Magnum. At the end of the day,
there's nothing wrong with
at the end of the
investigation.
day, the problem with investigation is that it leads to presumption. It leads to you not knowing that person, period. So everybody has a past, right? So everybody has a past. So let me say this.
Go ahead.
Everybody has a past. So let's say in your past, you was a stripper. And I go and I'm about to take you out. And so now I talk to my boys because now I'm being proactive. I'm investigating. And I ain't know nothing. You ain't tell me nothing about you being a stripper prior to me meeting you. We ain't even talk about that. I'm out, we go on a date. Come my partner see me. Alex, you see me out. Oh, she was a stripper, man. She was doing. Now I'm taking what Alex said and now I'm prejudging you. And now my thought process, even though I thought you was a great date, everything went good, was great.
That's where maturity comes in.
Oh, now
that's where maturity
Okay, y'all.
Let's
Just
talk about it.
For time's sake, it just sounds like we're going to have another one of these things to go because everybody has a lot to say on this. But I do have one thing to say so we can get everybody out of here.
Cut the woman off.
Well, this is...
Go ahead.
Now you self-sabotage yourself, Gigi. Now, come on now.
Meet me afterwards.
This was a comment from one of our viewers. it said, first, you do not marry for love, but for purpose. And another one, love just makes it easier. Love just makes purpose easier. So with that being said, everybody made great, valid points. It was good to hear the bad part, because we always hear about the good. Oh, I love them. Yeah, we did all that in a relationship. But once we get to marriage and that title, that tends to get us more so. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line is, if that's your person and you invested 100% in them, keep it that way. Work on the differences. Strengthen weaknesses, as Dan said. Triggers, like Q said. Selflessness, like Shalonda and Kathy said. All that comes together as one. To be a team effort. You know what I'm saying? You don't see a player on the team ball hogging all the time. They don't win. When you pass the ball around and figure out what you're good and what you're bad at, that's when the end goal gets resolved. So that being said, there you go, Kathy. Nah.
She saved you. Saved you. You're welcome. Again, thank you all for coming. We talked a lot about relationships and, friendships, marriage, but I want to bring something to everybody's attention. I'm a Christian, and for nothing else, I want to talk about what the word says. The Bible says two are better than one. Did y'all know that? Two are better than one. That's important. It's not just for marriage. It's about friendships. It's about relationships. It's about family. Relationships. It's about everything. I mean, we don't survive. We don't do anything without having somebody in our corner, right? Everybody gets lonely when they're alone and don't have anybody to share their thoughts with, their dreams with, their opinions with, just to share time with. Who knows what the first relationship was? Huh? Anybody? First relationship from God's perspective.
Well, I was going to say, in Genesis where he did all these things on his own in creation. He created this and created that all by himself. Then he got to a point where he said, let us. So that spoke of relationship there. So again,
that was the first. Come on, Preacher Kenny.
Yes, ma'am.
The first relationship. No. First relationship spoken of is God the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit says, let us. And that was a picture of relationship. And then it says, it goes down and he starts creating the world, and he creates creatures, and he creates mankind, and he does all of these things. But then he sends man out to take care of the world, right? And everything he made, what did he say? It's what? It's good. It's good. But then we get down to man, and he's looking at man and how he said it's not good. Can I say it? No.
I'm ready to stand up with you. I'm ready to stand up. Because if I can, real quick, before you even go too far on that point, because that is so crucial and very important, because, again, as I was stating, he as in God, if we will, walked through this whole process of creating everything solo by himself. But not only do we talk about the importance of Eve, but when he got to create Adam is when he actually said, let us. Everything else he can do by himself, but because he knew humanity was so important, so vital, and what he was about to do was so magnanimous, so big, right? That now, but it was at that point that for him, it was like, let us collectively do this thing together. Right, so I agree with you. One, okay, we can do I won't, come on, let's go.
So he gets all the way down, and he called everything good. He called everything good, but then he saw man was alone, and he said, it's not good. He said, it's not good that man should be alone. Mm-hmm. And here he is, he creates Eve. Mm-hmm. And so I want to stop there as far as Genesis is concerned, and just remind everybody that we need each other. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a friendship, whether it's a parental relationship, whether it's, my best friends or family, we need each other. Mm-hmm. We weren't created to do anything alone. The problem comes in when we get selfish and we stop considering each other. And the Bible says, and I'm going to read it, Matthew 22. Says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, All your soul and all your mind, right, Dan? Not with all your money. He says this is the first and greatest commandment, and second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so what happens is we get selfish and we don't consider our actions and how they affect other people. And so love, I heard somebody say love is a decision, but it's also an action. Love is an action. Love is a decision in every single circumstance. She's saying she's not my daughter. That was unloving. She chose violence. She chose violence. And it says that God is working in you in Philippians 2:13 to do his good will and through his power to operate in you. So you do have what you need to do what it is that you're required to do. You just need to make the decision to do that. Go ahead, I feel it.
Even to go, as we continue to dabble in scripture there, and we look at the scenario with Job, right? Someone that God knew that he can trust, that he wouldn't bend, if you will, right? He was going to continue to love God and have this faith that God was going to bring him out. But it wasn't until in that 42nd chapter where he began to pray for his friends, right, that whole thing turned around. So as we talk about the importance of us, there's some situations and circumstances that we're facing because we're still only focused on us, when the bigger picture is if we begin to consider others. It might be going bad for me now, but God turned it around in her favor. You know what I mean? And then that's when I might start seeing some things, because now I've taken my prayer from focusing on me to focusing on someone else and making it about us. Because again, we early in the beginning in Genesis, we discovered there that it was important for this us thing. So it was just, him reminding us, what can happen when we have an us, a community mentality.
You heard the term iron sharpens iron. So if you're not acting or behaving like iron and you don't think you need sharpening, that's when you come into isolation. You come into depression. Who in here can say that they are not depressed, or when they are depressed, or if you've ever been depressed, it hasn't all been focused on you? I have this problem. I feel this way. I was doing this, or I didn't get that. It's all inward focus. But I tell people all the time, and we all go through, ups and downs, but a lot of times our unsatisfaction comes from our inward focus on ourselves. And that you can take your mind off of you. God will be able to meet your needs when you start meeting the needs of other people, when you start focusing on other people, when you start looking out for the interest of others. And that's the importance of relationships. We were never intended to be alone. We were never intended to mistreat each other. We were never intended to, get into these situations that create mistrust and create situations where, now you're insecure and all of these other things. Stand up. We were never intended to be that way, but because of flesh, because of our lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life, it becomes I, and we become inward focused that it doesn't matter how I treat her. I just want what I want from him. I just need what I need from her. I want to meet my needs and never mind them. But here's the thing. We get to those points and we don't realize that we've torn down her. And so now she's dealing with some self-esteem issues and some insecurities. But here's the thing. We talk about the person. We look at the person. But like Q said, we never take a minute to look in the mirror and say, how did I invest? What was my investment in her insecurities? What was my investment in his lack of trust? What was my investment in his inability to relate? We were meant to relate to people. And we were meant to do it in a way that was pleasing and selfless. Go ahead. You done? So, I saw this meme. I think I'm gonna cry. Can somebody get me a Q-tip?
A Q-tip?
Yeah, you gotta cry. Like I said, you gotta cry like a bad bee. No, I just want to thank you all for coming. Did you all have anything that you wanted to add? I love y'all too. There's no relationship. I learned a big lesson with love about 2-3 years ago. And I was so upset at somebody, like, and I always prided myself on not holding grudges and not, you know, not, getting all offended when people do stuff because of how I grew up. I grew up with guys, right? My nephews were the closest people to me. And so I get to a place where all of a sudden I'm in the middle of women and all they knew were catty stuff. And I didn't understand it and it confused me. And so that was a lesson that God was teaching me because I was like, I ain't holding no grudges, but I was holding a big grudge. I tried to change God's word. You know the Bible says, how many times should you forgive your brother? 70 times 7. I said, but John 8 says, you are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father. So if they not treat me right, they mistreat me, they can't be my brother, so I ain't got to forgive them. I try to manipulate it, but in the end, God said, you stupid. Quit trying to change my word and pull it together. I'm letting you go through this because you need to understand that people do go through it. And if you ever want to get into a point where you can minister to somebody and teach somebody and let your experiences be worth something for somebody else, you got to be able to know that I can bring you out of that too. And so God, released me out of that. I stopped holding grudges. I tried to. And then I got into a point where somebody offended me so bad. And I was done. I'd never written anybody out. I can name 1, 2, 3, about 6 people here that I done fell out with. And it was like, oh, nothing, right? But this one time my heart was broken, just broken. And I was like, God, you're going to have to come down, let the sky rain blue snowflakes and all of these, not impossible things, but crazy things before I give that opportunity, that friendship another chance. And so God said, how about I just give you the word? And I said, well, and Shiva knows I'm crazy. I admit I said this. I said, well, God, okay, if you want me to handle it this way, don't speak to me in no parables. You got to be clear with me because if anybody knows me, I do not take hints well. I don't know how to read between the lines. I'm like, what? I need you to be very, very clear. And he took me to the scripture, and he says, forgive people who mistreat you. He said, because if you don't, you're giving room for the enemy to have his way with you. And besides that the punishment from the people who see what you've gone through on that individual is enough, that you are supposed to restore that person. I was like, man. And he said, but that's love. You're making a decision because in your forgiveness and in your mending of relationships and friendships and, families, bringing families back together, that you are not only demonstrating that you have the Holy Spirit, but you're demonstrating it's like the Bible in action. You are supposed to be a walking epistle. That means a letter written to the people from God. That is your life. And so if your life is mistreating people, using people, tearing them down and doing things to them and then pointing the finger at them when they respond, that's not love. And so he said that the forgiveness that you operate in, the mending that you operate in, will be an example of what it means for them to experience. They will experience me firsthand. And so when God said that to me, that was very crystal clear. And so I operated in it. And from that came something totally bigger, more fruitful, because now I understood what love was. It had nothing to do with sex. It had nothing to do with dates. It had nothing to do with it was just relationship. How do you relate to somebody? And that's important. We were not put here to be alone. We were not put here to dole out somebody's iron. We were put here to sharpen it. Iron sharpens iron. It says a 1 cord is not good. 2 is not good, but a 3-strand cord is not easily broken. Go ahead. What did it say?
I was just amening with you.
No, you ain't. Go ahead.
No, I was just amening with you. I'm serious.
But so when you think about that and you look around at the relationships that you've had, a lot of times God has put those now, the Bible also says cast off any weight. That's it. Okay? So you ain't supposed to be in every relationship, but you are supposed to be an example. And so when you are an example and when you are doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, you won't be so focused on yourself and you'll be able to pour. And if you're pouring and then I'm pouring into you and somebody's pouring into me, look at the result. But if I'm mistreating you and then you go, what? If I'm mistreating you, you might turn around out of anger and mistreat her. And so it's important. Look at everything that you do. Ask yourself, is it steeped in love? Is love motivating it? Because love is an action. Love is a what? Love is an action. It's a decision to do what God wants you to do. The Bible also says God is love. So I'm literally saying when I'm treating you and I'm telling you that I love you, I'm saying that I guide you. And so if you can't say I guide you in what it is that you're doing, you might not want to do it. Okay? And so I thank you all for coming out. God bless you all. Did anybody get my Q-tip? Oh, the raffle. Can you bring them up? So we got 3 gifts that we're giving out. Hold this. Now, these were written out. They're a little bootleg, but the gifts aren't. Okay. Who didn't get it? Wait, who didn't get a ticket? Did everybody get a ticket? I didn't get one. Yes, you did.
In one of them pockets.
It was in your back pocket. She probably threw it away. Okay. The number ending in 520. That's you? Who? Who got 520? Okay. Get that to her. And see me at the end so I can give you all the details. The number ending in 546. You. And the number ending in, alrighty, 522. Who? All right, let me speak blessing over everybody. God, we love you. We honor you. We thank you for your word. We thank you for all of our friends here for being so open. That's what's missing is open and honest conversations so we can learn from each other. And so, God, we thank you for the opportunity to have done that. Our purpose here is for us to find our footprints in faith. That's the name of what it is that we're doing tonight under that moniker, footprints in faith. And I want us, our goal here tonight, and you helped us do that, God, was to find our footprints in faith, in relationships, God. And so we thank you for that, that sometimes our faith walk is not perfect. It's never perfect, but it is always purposeful. And so we thank you for that. We honor you for who you are. We speak blessing over everybody who is here as well as everybody online. We thank you for what it is that you are doing. We thank you, Lord God, for mending relationships, for repairing relationships, for building new relationships. We thank you for friendships. We speak blessing over marriages tonight. We thank you, God, for marriage because you said in your word that it is a picture of what you've done with your church. And so we thank you for that, God. We thank you that it's not a perfect walk, but it is purposeful. And so because of that and because of the picture that you've given us, we get to walk that thing out the way you've called us to. We love you, God, and we honor you for everything that you're doing in our lives. We thank you, Lord God, that because of our relationship with you, that we get to be a blessing to somebody else. We ask that you bless each and every person here. We ask that you order their steps in your word, Lord God. Be a lamp unto their feet and a light unto their path, Lord God, and let everything they touch just manifest the faith that they have in you, Lord God, and manifest the things that you have caused them to walk in, their purpose, their dreams, Lord God, their desires. Let it be based in you. We love you, God, and we honor you. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Okay, y'all get out.